Welcome to Unique Coding Heroes. So, in the today's tutorial, which we had already started like earlier for discussing our inbuilt matches and the custom matches. So, today we will be discussing the matches like to be close, to be greater than, or to be greater than equal. In the sequence, we will be discussing some of the to define, to be undefined, and all. Then, moving ahead, we will be discussing how the values are defined. So then we have a kind of after each, before each functions that are used in the test suite. Okay. So yeah, let's and then moving ahead, we have a like in the next tutorial we will be discussing about arrange assert. Okay. So let's focus on to be greater than and to be less than. So to be greater than, to be less than, to be close to, and to match. So to match is a function basically that matches the value of a regular expression. So to match we use for something we want to match. Suppose like you want to match like the value of something. So then in that case you can use to match. So let's see. So in this piece of code you can see we have some functions. We suppose we have a column that we want to match. So you can see here basically. So in here basically we uh, we are match we are matching this with a function. Okay, so here we have one some function, and from that function we want to match this pattern. So we are matching this pattern. So this pattern it will search it. Okay, so this pattern is correct or not. So like that it will try to match it. Okay, so yeah, that is the like matching or matching purpose we use. And like that if we go to some functions so close to means basically, and then we have a close to be close to, basically to be close to, we check if the approximately to 10 like 10.5 we have, right, with the decimal place precision. So in the decimal precision we have one. So here we are comparing basically it's correct or not, and it's basically to be close to is used for decimal approximation. Okay, so for that purpose we use to be close to. And to be greater than, the function is used to assert that a value is greater than another. So this function is used to assert that a value is greater than or greater than another. So to be greater than, we can see how we can implement to be greater than. To be greater than, so better greater than basically, suppose we have a value. So here basically like you can see the code. So what we will do in the greater than, so you can see here we have a value of 10. Okay, so 10 is greater than 9. So here it will become true. So if we check there, uh, an example of greater than and less than. Okay, so in that case it's a greater than. Okay, so we are using greater than. So in the uh, greater than, if we check in this Jasmine, so all these test cases which we have written. So here you can see the passes test cases. So here you can see the list of options here. So you can see one test cases. If you click on that, so these are the test cases. So this the test cases which we written for greater than is example of. So you can see is greater than example, right? So example of greater than and less than. Okay, so this is getting example is in green one. So it is getting passed. So it is working correctly, and like that we have like that we can check it less than also. Okay, so To be greater than, to be like in our test cases, we have a greater than and to be equal to or equal. Okay, so equal to will work when you're comparing anything. So suppose we have a equal thing, so 10, and then we are passing 10. So here it will check for equality. So you can see example of greater than, so this is also passing, you can see. And then we have a Jasmin and to be defined. And to be defined, basically we use to to check the value is defined or not. If it is defined, then fine. If it is undefined, then it will fall. So suppose we have a because suppose we have a value my value. So we'll check for defined and undefined both. So you can see here what happened. Like if we don't define anything, so first we'll check with this defined one. So the defined one, what will happen? So defined one basically kind of like where we can understand like so suppose it, then let's write its use of define and undefined. Define and, so here it is, you can see we have a defined of value. Okay, so you can see in here it's giving defined value. So use to be defined is already defined. Okay, suppose we defined is equal to something. Okay, so here you can see we are getting error and we don't define anything. This is empty. Suppose we keep it empty. If we put undefined here, undefined, and we are trying to run this one. So okay, so what will happen if we have not defined? If we have defined, then fine. If we have undefined value, in the undefined, suppose we are passing, we have defined, we have something undefined, and we are passing something to be defined. Then in that case, it will not work. See, 2 3. If you're passing 2 3 also, it will work. Okay, but if you don't pass anything, some kind of empty or something, so it will be accepting uh, like to be undefined, to be defined, to be undefined, to be defined. Then in that case, it will be failing. So basically, to be undefined will check if the value exactly is defined. If value is explicitly undefined, then expectation will pass and it will fail. So undefined pass because my value. So here you can pass like in a defined, you can pass like undefined. So undefined. So if you put undefined like this, if you put value undefined pass because my value is undefined. So what you have to do, you have to put it here undefined, defined value, undefined, and then you are passing to be undefined, then it will be passing. Okay, so suppose we have passing some value, discussing about that that const like the defined and undefined basically, and there basically like so where to use defined and undefined. So here basically the value where we have some value in there, basically we can use as a to be defined, and where basically we don't have the value, and in that case we can define as a undefined in there. And you can see we have undefined, so we have used to be to be defined, it will fail. In that scenario we will use to be undefined, and it will process the test cases. So if you see here in the example, we have defined like to be defined is passing, and it's undefined it's when it was failing, but now we put as undefined and then it is passing. So like this defined undefined works. Then we move on to our okay. Then we move on to our to be null. So to be null we use basically where we define a value as a null, and that we are expecting to be null. So you can see expect and all. So the same way, if you are passing my value is null, then in that case it should work as a to be null. Okay, and to contain matches for okay, then to contain matcher is used to check if any array or string contains a specific value or substring respectively. So to const my array is like this one, and expect my array dot contain like passes because my array contains value 2. Here we have three in array we have three element, and passes to contain because my array contains the value 2. So here it contains the value 2. So in that case basically like uh, okay. So moving ahead, like if we check in there, and basically what happened, like if you check here in to be null matcher, basically we have compared the null value, but if it is not a number, then in that case we'll check it. So let's see to contain also. Okay, so to contain also in there. So in to contain basically what happened, in to contain it will check if the array or a string contains a specific value of substring. So in to contain it's checked if array or a string contains a specific value or substring. So in to container basically to contain method check we use to check if array contains a specific value of substring. So this is a specific value it contains. So it is checking this array is contained of two or not. So it is for checking to contain. Okay. So like this. Okay. So let's look at this example. Okay. So let's copy this one. Okay. So this is the array, and we are want to check any content which is sitting on the array. So in that case, basically, it will be like a kind of like check to contain use of to contain. Okay, so use of to contain in there like this. Okay, so let's paste our output here only, and then put enter, and then so basically what happened in there in there we are checking this array contains the value of 2 or not. So the array which is 1 to 3 basically must have a kind of values just should have the value of 2. So it's trying to compare. So you can see use of content. If you go to the list of unit test cases, value use of the use of the use of you can see what is the name of use of to contain. If you click on this, you can see it's passing. You will see the green color there. So that means it's passing. So yeah, so like this we can check it. Okay, so now move on to with to be a number kind of in there, and in this null value basically we can check with this word also. Okay, suppose you have a string you want to check, then you can use to contain as well. So that is also a benefit. Okay, so let's move on to our next matcher, which is to be a number. So to be a number is kind of match is matcher if its value is nan, If the value is indeed like a not a number, then it will pass without fail. So the const is my value is number. So it will accept my value to be a number, passes because so here it is not a number, an n value not a number. Okay, so that's why we have to put it an n kind of something. Okay, so let's see. And then we have a like this. Okay, suppose you have a value, you want to test it with like a value which is passing, which is infinite. Okay, so do you have an iron number? So suppose we have a value which is infinity and expect infinity and to be true pass because my value positive infinity. So expect infinite my value and the value. So in this case it passes because my value is positive infinity. So my value is positive infinity. So you can see my value we have taken as a constant, as a variable, as a constant. Okay, and then we are expecting infinite my value and my value greater than zero to be true, to be true. Okay, so passes because my value is positive entity infinity. Okay, so yeah, so this value is positive entity. So what we will have to do, we have to make it as a negative test cases. You can see if you want to run negative test case negative infinity, then you have to put negative infinity, expect infinite my value, and my value is less than zero to be true because we have a negativity. So moving on, we have a, for each, and after each, for each function is used to define code that should be executed before each test cases. So you can see common resource, initialize common resource before before each, and before each is used to define that code that should be executed before each test cases. So this is before each test cases. This we are want to execute before each test cases. So you can see you are using common resources. Common resources. So common resources like that you can use. So it's very important. This unit test case is very important basically. So in this case, it will this piece of code you can see, right. Let's see with example before each. Uh, Before each will be executed every time. So you can see in this piece of code. So in this piece of code, in this piece of code, you can see. Let me write this here. Okay. So if you put it here, a common resource is kind of like quick fix video. In the quick fix, in the quick fix, let's correct this. So we have to define let in the common resource. We have to take a variable in the top or define variable in the top. So let's define the variable in the top. Okay. So here we define the common resource. Let common. So this is like the way we use for before each in the before each basically. So basically we have defined the variable in the top let. Okay, so we are reusing it like you can see multiple times. Like it should be something which is common resources. Then test courses. So here you can see in the expect we are expecting to be defined. And then something else. So you can see in for each this piece of code we are reusing again and again. So the common resources we are expecting to be defined. Okay, no, it should be defined. So like that we are checking this common responses to be truthy or function not implemented, any kind of initialized common resources. Okay, so like this we can kind of compare. We can compare the element like this. Okay, so yeah, so same way we implement the after also. So after test case also we implement like that. Okay, so I will give that piece of code like this is the piece of code we implement for after each. And I will go for a separate kind of session for this video for this after each and before each with more example. For time being we're just explaining. So what happened like in this in after each like it's like the code that this piece of code is like it is like defined after kind of like it will run after the execution. So okay, so after it you can see here clean the resources of the test case each time. So clean up the resource. First of all we clean up this some resource, then after that we again run the same resource. Okay, and then in that case it should do some kind of so it should be doing kind of activity. It will be running this test case some resources again. It should do something with else. There's some same resource. So same resource in after it will do something else. Okay, so uh, yeah, so like that only we check it is defined or not, and again it will be truthy or not. That resource which we are passing, it's defined or not, or it's running with the same resource only. Okay, so like that. So in the next video we will be discussing about act triple A basically is arrange act assert pattern. And for today it's we are going to I'll paste all this link, and in the past tutorial we have not seen, so I paste the video. Just watch the video and try to understand. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much.